Okay, working from memory, and I have to use the language of the trucker. And I've got many clangers, having a big mouth, not thinking before I speak. Picked up a nice lady once near Stonehenge on the way down to Portsmouth, I think. And it's in the summer, with the window open, she sat there with the long hair blowing in the wind and the fine features. I said, "You should be careful, darling. A nice girl like you, hitchhiking alone. There's a lot of dodgy men around." She says, "I'm a man, actually." I said, "Oh, sorry." How was I to know? Looked at the long hair, the fine features. You were most disgusted. We got out and slammed the door. He said, "Thanks." Clang. Got to a customer, and a nice lady looked at a low window with the boobs hanging out. She said, "Go see the forklift driver, he'll lift the load off for you." I said, "Thank you, darling." I said to the forklift driver, "God, she's a bit of alright, I'd like to give her one." He says, "I give her one every night, mate, she's my wife." Clang. Could have been worse. I could have said to him, "God, she's a right dog." And he wouldn't like that, would he? In Birmingham, a West Indian driver used to give me a right load of bullshit. Went to a scrapyard to clear a scrapyard. The machines broke down, so he loaded God knows how many hundreds of tons of scrap by hand. And he cleared it all, and the boss gave him a BMW car and about £1,000. Well, I didn't believe a word of it. I thought he was living in fairyland. And a week later, I saw a driver, a West Indian driver, a younger bloke, who worked for the same company. I said, "Oh, we all met last week, Vince." He said, "Oh yeah." I said, "He's a right bullshitter, isn't he?" He said, "It's me dad." And he goes on. I could fill a tape up with this. I pulled up at lay-by near Milton Keynes one morning, and that's a lady in the mobile kiosk for a cheese sandwich and a cup of tea. And there's a bloke leaning against his car drinking tea from a plastic cup. I says to him, "Have you seen this, look? Thin sliced bread, smearing in margarine and a bit of scabby cheese. It's fucking disgusting. I have a good mind to report her to trading standards." He says, "She's my wife and I own this kiosk." Oh God. He says, "Fair enough, driver, at least I know my cheese sandwiches aren't up to scratch." Oh, I felt awful. I'm looking for a hole to crawl down. Should I carry on? One more. CB radio in Somerset. A bloke helped me to fix it in my car, and he had a home base, so I said, "I'll go up to Mendy Pills this afternoon and give you a shout." "Oh, great," he says. And he says, "Would you like a coffee?" I said, "Yeah, please." So I went in his house, and his wife and son sat there, adult son. And we got onto the subject of hi-fi systems. And at that time, Amstrad were around. I think it was Alan Sugar, wasn't it? And I said, "Absolute rubbish." I said, "I won't have one in my house." And he pointed behind me, and I carried on. I said, "It's a tinny sound, hollow tinny sound." And he pointed behind me again, and I still carried on. Oh God. I said, "Cheapest hi-fi systems ever been made. Absolute rubbish." He pointed, I looked round, and one was behind me. Oh God! I froze. I think I blushed. And I didn't know what to say. His wife says, "Well, we're quite happy with ours." I said, "I'm sure you are, love." I thought, Lord, take me. Take me now. I'm ready to go. Oh dear. But anyway, more clangers later. There are many more. Now, truckers can be the most boring people in the world. They sit in transport cafes, although now it's all truck stops, isn't it? In a group talking about work, where they've been, where they're going, what they've driven, and then I come along with my wacky interests like astrology, astronomy, palm reading, astral projection, spiritualism, and they look sideways and think, "Who the fuck we got here?" And they ignore me and carry on. Well, you know, there's got to be things in life other than driving fucking lorries. And the driver I worked with in Somerset, were no names, rather simple. But it was a decent driver, but you know, got a high-pitched voice. Hello, Arthur! And he invited all our drivers round to his home. His mother runs riding stables near Weston-super-Mare. And we all went round this lovely warm evening, and all the drivers sat talking about work. And I sat talking to his brother, David, and his mother. I said to David, how is it, Dave, how can I put it? You're sort of quite normal. Well, he's a little bit simple, David said. He's the afterbirth. And his mother said to me, Arthur, you're the only true friend he's got. She says, I know he's very insecure. He invites Mickey Takey because he wants the attention. She says, but I worry about him. She says, would you look after him? I says, yeah, of course I will do. And of course I can be a bit ratty, like lorry drivers, truckers can have a very short fuse, and at times my fuse is very short. And one Monday morning, feeling dog rough, I've just had a couple of chip sandwiches because Andrew's updated me to Windows 8 and I've had no time to cook. But anyway, this Monday morning, feeling dog rough, I sat in my cab, writing my taco card out, ready for another week on the road, and he came dashing over. Oh, Arthur, I'm so glad I've seen you. Oh, I've had a terrible weekend. I haven't slept. I'm so worried. I says, why, what's up? He says, well, if I tell you, you've got to promise you won't tell anybody. I says, no. He says, well, you must promise. I said, look, either tell me or fuck off. He says, I've got a problem. I says, you're one big fucking problem. He says, I said, what kind of problem? He says, I've got a big, horrible, red-looking spot. I says, no, I'm looking at it. It's sat on top of your shoulders. Poor lad. You know, I can be so bloody sarcastic. He says, no, it's down there. I said, what? I don't think I want to hear this. I says, where? He says, on me dick. Oh, God. I thought, no, don't ask me to look at it. I'll drive off and fucking run straight over you. He says, do you think it's AIDS? I says, no. And you know what that stands for, don't you? He says, what? I said, arse-injected death sentence. Oh, he says, I'm not like that. I says, really? Different to what I've heard. I says, no, it's probably herpes. Oh my God, what's that? I said, your dick's going to drop off. Oh my God, he ran away crying. He says, what will mother say? I said, come here, you bloody idiot. It's nothing, probably because you don't wash yourself properly. Go see the doctor, he'll give you some cream to put on it. Oh yeah, I didn't say, did I? He came up to me in the yard one day. He says, Arthur, do you think I look a cunt? I said, what kind of question's that? If you push me for an answer, I will have to say yes. What a comedian, he's still around. He's supposed to have a computer. Well, I don't think you'll see this. But what I'm telling you is the truth. Yeah. And, okay, I could tell you a lot more about him, but I work for this company at Cheddar. And I'll name this driver, well, his nickname, Geordie. And the boss down there at Cheddar, the long distance work dropped off, so he put us all on local work down to a local customer. And he said, you got to do, what, how many loads was it? 6 loads a day, I think, or more, otherwise the job won't pay. So on the Monday morning, we all rolled up at this local customer in the big articulated vehicles, and there were nowhere to tip the stone. We were carrying clean stone. So we spent all morning laughing and joking in the cafe, and taking the piss out of this lad, and of course he loved it because it was attention. And around about midday, Geordie tipped his first load off. He went back up the quarry, passing our yard as he went into the quarry. He came out, and the boss came out and stopped him. He says, how many loads you done, Geordie? And Geordie says, 1. 1? This was about 1 o'clock. 1? Geordie says, yep, nowhere to take me. One! They were jumping up and down with rage, his rig bouncing up and down. Geordie says, well, I'm sorry. He says, there were nowhere to tip the stone. And the boss says, well, I've been talking to Richard down there, the boss at the local company. He said Geordie don't want to know. He sits in his cab idling his time away. Geordie said, what, he said that about me? The boss said, yes he did. Geordie said, well, I saw that come to her. And he drove off and left him standing in the middle of the road. He said, don't you say a word to him. And he panicked because they were lying. And he sent the rep down, don't let Geordie go in that office. So there's Geordie driving down one section of the M5, fuming, steam blowing out of his nostrils, and the rep went hurtling past in the car. And at the local customer, Geordie screeched to a halt, jumped out of his cab and marched over to the office. And the rep put his hand up. He says, the boss says you haven't got to go in there. Geordie said, get out of my fucking way or I'll flatten you. And he went in shouting and bawling at the boss there, down there. And the boss said, hang on Geordie, I haven't spoken to your boss this morning, he's lying to you. So Geordie tipped his second load off and went hurtling back up to the quarry, screeched to a halt outside our yard, went watching in the office, and the boss's daughter sat there. He says, where is he? She says, he's had to go out. Yeah, he went out Geordie's way. And I got back after driving the old bangers down there, the old guys. I had a brand new Scania. Lovely. I got back in the yard one Friday afternoon, and how's the time going on? Yeah, I got back in the yard one Friday afternoon, and she says, can you get that guy 8-legger for rigid axles and take this load down to the local customer? I says, what? You expect me to drive that old thing after driving a brand new Scania? Oh, come on, Arthur. They're waiting for the stone. So I got in this old guy, clank, you know, the gearbox clanking and everything. Turned left out of our yard straight into the quarry and climbed up the side of the Mendy Hills, put a load of stone on, came back down the hill, and the brakes failed. I got my foot down to the floorboard. It was picking up speed, and there were two weighbridges, and put the lights on, sounded the horn, and everybody ran as this old banger came hurtling down with 20 ton of stone, and there was a sandpit in between the weighbridges, so I steered it into the sandpit, and of course it stopped. So I jumped out of the cab. Well, I didn't jump out, I stepped out because it had sunk into the sand, and staggered down to our office. And the boss's daughter sat there. I told her what had happened. She says, oh dear Arthur, the customers waited for that load. Did you have to put it in the sandpit? I says, well no, I could have come past the sandpit, so I'd have gone past the yard doing 90 mile an hour. And of course she laughed. I said, it's not bloody funny, I could have been killed there. And next morning the boss was not happy. No. He says, that was the right performance yesterday, weren't it? I says, yeah it was. What happened? I said, the brakes failed. Well, didn't you see the warning light? It didn't work. Oh, didn't you hear the warning buzzer? Didn't work. Well, the actuators, if the air pressure goes down, it locks the brakes on. So it didn't work. So it's bloody performance. They had to get a big caterpillar to come down from the quarry and tow it out. He says, I've got to pay for that cat. I said, what the fucking hell was I supposed to do? Eh? Best thing you do is put an anchor in there. Next time that was I'll throw the fucking anchor out. Don't you speak to me like that. I said, I've had enough of this. I'm off. I've finished. Stick the job up your arse. But of course, he fetched me back because he couldn't get drivers. And I've been with him a long time. Of course, he didn't apologise, but he fetched me back. No, don't be hasty. But then he decided, brilliant idea, buy a large porter cabin. So we drivers didn't hang around the office, and he gave the job to, I'll say, I won't say the name, D. And the wild man, banned from all the pubs in Cheddar for fighting, and D put it on the back of this flat trailer and went up the narrow lane leading from the village of Cheddar up to our yard and the quarry, and he got it stuck. Well, I wasn't there. Geordie was telling me. He says, honestly, I thought I fucking pissed myself laughing. D was on the back of the trailer like King Kong, in a wild temper, tearing branches off these trees and hurling them into these beautiful gardens. And a lady came out and complained bitterly, and he told her to fuck off. And she ran back indoors in tears. Her husband came out. "How dare you speak to my wife like that?" And he told him to fuck off and threw a branch at him. And Geordie sat there doubled up with laughing. He said he was shouting and bawling his voice. Of course everybody came out on the lane, these beautiful houses, and he says, "When I get my hands on the boss, I'll wring his fucking neck." I wish I'd have been there, especially with the video camera. And after he'd demolished a few walls and damaged a few more trees, he managed to get the Portakabin up to the yard. It was all a waste of time anyway, because the boss didn't get planning permission, and it had to be broke up and came back down the lane in the back of the tipper lorries, straight down the dump. And the boss and his wife had to go back down the lane and apologise and offer compensation to the residents, enraged residents who had been violated with D's vile language and his temper. And D once had a run down to this local customer which involved one section of the M5, and a hitchhiker was hitchhiking. He put his thumb up, and D ignored him, of course, because it was just doing local work. So the hitchhiker put two fingers up, and D saw him, screeched to a halt, ran back and thumped the hitchhiker. No one put two fingers up at him. And so many things happened there. One morning I lived at Street in Somerset. I got there early. I got to be at the customer early, and the old banger, this was before I got the scanner, it wouldn't start. So I walked down the lane down to his big flash house, hoping his big Alsatian was not out. I armed myself with a big stick. If something comes for you, if you whack it on the nose, that's the most the tenderest part on a dog. But the dog wasn't out. It was barking because it heard me outside, and I knocked on the door, and this funny looking bald-headed old man stuck his head out the bedroom window. He said, "What do you want?" I said, "Is N there? You know, that's the boss." He said, "It's me." Of course, he hadn't got his wig on, I didn't recognise him. I says, "Well, the truck won't start." "What do you want me to do about it?" I said, "Well, if you want the load there for 8 o'clock, somebody had better come out and fix it, or it's not going to be delivered for 8 o'clock as you wanted." "Hang on, I'll phone the fitter." So I walked back up, and he came up, put his wig in place, and the fitter turned up. I'll name him Little Jimmy Bodge-up Mercer, which he didn't like me to call him that. He said, "I bodge because I'm told to by him." So Jimmy came up and fixed the truck, and he says, "Right, off you go off." And I did get there for 8 o'clock, but at one time I drove an old Memoirs Deutsch, and Geordie said, "It's a Maggie Harris Dutz." I said, "A what?" He says, "A Maggie Harris." I said, "You illiterate bastard. Come on then, big head. How do you pronounce it?" I says, "Memoirs Deutsch." He says, "You think you're always right?" I says, "I usually am, aren't I, mate?" And of course he got me in a headlock. I says, "Hey, be careful. I'm knocking on a bit." And there was another customer we loaded up in Wales, a pit. Where was it? Oh yeah, Geordie said it's at Insible. What? Insible? And it was. I said, "Look, I've got Welsh friends, and I'll tell you how it's pronounced." "Yeah, go on then, let's hear it." I said, "It's pronounced Unisable. YNYSYBWL in Welsh is pronounced Unisable." He says, "No, it's fucking not. It's Insible." I said, You asked the blokes at the pit how it's pronounced?" And he said to me later, "Yeah, you were right." I said, "I'm always right, aren't I, mate?" And I had to run to get out of his way, but you know, I got on with him fine. Yeah, happy days. Anyway, the time's getting on, look. And all this is supposed to be going in my memoirs, in a book, because there's so much more, and I've got such an excellent long-term memory, as I say. I do apologise for what I said on the previous video about whether you should get back in the kitchen where they belong. I humbly apologise, darlings. You know, that was my awful, rotten sense of humour. And yeah, That's all I can say. Right, I don't know what the sound is going to be like, because now I'm updated to Windows 8. The volume level's been high all the way, so I better see if it's going to... Well, I'm going to upload it to YouTube, but test it first. I might have to delete it. So that's it for now.